I'll email you the photo that I have the thing. The other thing to keep in mind is you get inspected when you get to Hawaii. So 6, 7, 8 items will get looked at. So anybody who's thinking of, I don't know, not quite doing it right, just recognize that happens. And I will tell you, I've been there. And about every race, every second race, somebody gets inspected in Kaneohe and gets penalized. The penalty depends on where you cut the corner. Could be a 20%, could be a DSQ, could be a time penalty. So again, you want to be careful about this stuff. And again, I'm going to go back to the owners. You need someone who's really good at counting and checklists. A number of people have gotten into trouble because someone on the crew who was responsible for something was not the accounting type, did not have the discipline, did not get it done right, and they get to Hawaii and find out, oops, and it is no fun for the crew, and the skipper's there looking like he's not having a good time. And this is the fun race at Hawaii, and you absolutely want to have fun. Okay. So now I'm going to go through just a few high points that tend to be either pricey or uncertain or, what's the best way to do this? Okay, keel and rudder inspection. Now, everybody here going to Hawaii, you are having your boat hauled between now and the race, or maybe you had it hauled in the last 3 months. If you haven't, you need to do that. You need a recent rudder and keel inspection. I'll tell you when you're a week out and you've been banging through the waves and squalls and your rudder bearings loosen up. And you know what? Probably a third of you will have problems sleeping because the rudder bearing has loosened up. It is not a good thing. It usually doesn't stop you, but you will definitely lose sleep over that. The keel thing, we haven't had keel problems with the Pac Cup, but, City of Hobart had keel problems, the Fastnet had keel problems. So while you have the boat out, get a hard look at the keel. Get someone who's experienced, at the boat yard to look at the keel and make sure you're in good shape. Yes.
Is the sail drive a mandatory inspection?
can log out so that we can make sure the Zoom session goes smoothly to the people watching remotely. BYC is not known for their high bandwidth Wi-Fi.
Okay, so this is a tip. Most people have these 2-watt AIS transponders. If you got people at home who like to keep track and go up on marine traffic and go, oh, where's my spouse or where's my kids? If you use the 5-watt, the satellite will pick you up and you will show up all the way on marine traffic. So that's a nice thing to have. Voice, satellite voice. This is a new requirement this year. You got to be able to talk by telephone. Now, 3 ways to do it, right? You can have Starlink, voice over IP. Side note on Starlink. If your boat sinks and you're in a life raft, if you're careful about it, if you have a Starlink Mini, which will run on a relatively small battery bank, and your cell phone, and they're all in a waterproof plastic bag, you could make a phone call from a life raft. Same thing goes for the Iridium Go. The Iridium Go, you don't need to worry about the battery bank. It's built-in battery in your mobile phone, in the Iridium app, in a plastic bag, and you could take that in a life raft and make a call. Now, all that's a little complicated, so quite a few people will rent an Iridium phone. And Iridium's getting a little, dated, but it's a waterproof, I think it's IPC67. You're going to be able to make a call after swimming in the water. Not that anybody here wants to do that, but we have had a few cases, not going to Hawaii, but coming back. I can remember 3 of them where people ended up in life rafts. And being able to talk on a phone makes a huge difference. Now, you may ask, why is this requirement? It's really it's not just your safety, it's the safety of the other entrants. Somebody has a problem, and somebody needs help. Who's going to help them? Well, it's probably one of you is going to go help them, because there'll be somebody probably within 10, 20 miles of them who could get there first. And ideally, you get help from one of the fellow entrants. Now, the other side of this reality is Pasha, Matson, there's usually one of them within 10, 20 hours, or some other ship. But again, having a phone, having the ability to talk can make a huge difference if and when somebody needs help. And some people go, what about text? Yeah, text is nice, but there's nothing like a phone call. We can do a quick back and forth and make a decision. And we've had examples of, somebody needs some antibiotics, or somebody needs some water, or their emergency burner setup failed, and somebody needs to duck by. And yes, I'm looking at Michael, who's done this more than once. So you need the phone gig. And I think, what else? Anchors. You got to take 2 anchors. They got to be big enough. There's a chart. If you're a bigger boat, there's a 50-50 probability you may need to anchor out at some point. If the weather goes to shit, which has happened, they've had to get everybody off the docks and anchored behind Coconut Island. For those of you, you may not have a storm jib. I'm a big fan. I use sales. Second Wind Sales, Minnie's one of these folks. Now, you need a real storm sill. There's been an issue with some of the more pro boats trying to lighten up, and their storm sills are like all dinghies, and they're not heavy enough. They're the right sail area, but they're not heavy enough. So, no cheating, please. Emergency water. Something I just learned. I didn't realize. I don't know when we changed the rule. It used to be you had to have your required emergency water, 10 gallons a person, in a permanently fixed, let's call it a tank. That's no longer the case. You just need to have the water wherever, but no more than half of it in any one place, so that if you lose it. So, this is where the environmental people don't like me. This is a word of experience. The issue with water tanks, you're healed over the first 2 or 3 days. You'll get, 6 inches of water, which is a couple PSI, and all of a sudden salt water will make it into your main tank. Does that happen? Yeah, that happens. Or they tell you your tank is 50 gallons, but you never actually checked, and it actually is only 30 gallons. And you're like, does that happen? Gary Trox wasn't here, is he? Yes, that has happened. So personally, the bulletproof thing to do with water is bring cases of pint bottles. Then you don't need to worry about contamination in your main tank. You don't need to worry about somebody leaving the sink dripping in the head. Some boats, when you heal over enough, the sinks will just start pouring water out. You don't need to worry about the crew person who decided to take a shower every day. So the pint bottle thing, you literally need to. Now, you can assume a half gallon a day a person. That's a pretty good assumption, so you can do the math. Again, you're required 10 gallons per person when you leave, but assume you're going to need about a half gallon per person per day. And that'll probably allow a little bit for taking a shower once in a while. But yeah, the other thing with if you do the pint bottle thing, there's no recycling of plastic in Hawaii, so throw all those pint bottles in a plastic bag, they don't weigh anything, and bring them back to California when you come home, or Seattle, or wherever you're coming from. Bring them back to the mainland so they can be recycled. Oh, life rafts, for those of you who've done this race a bunch, the life raft rules change. Used to be able to have ISAF, USAF, or ORC rafts. The ORC rafts no longer qualify. ORC rafts are typically over 20 years old at this point. So if you've got an old ORC raft, the answer is, yeah, that's not going to work. You can rent a raft like it sells, though I've been shocked by the price of ISO rafts. It's come down a bit. I know it used to be $5,000-$6,000 for a raft for me. Now it's more like $4,000-ish. So not cheap, but it's not as obnoxious as it used to be. Oh, emergency steering. So maybe every second year, every second race, somebody loses their steering and is going to need to use emergency steering. People try all kinds of stuff. So there's everything from, they have a wind vane set up and they use that as an emergency steering. There's the high-tech carbon blade hanging off the back that goes into a cassette. There's a piece of plywood and pintles. There's a bunch of different ways to do emergency steering. I'll tell you, 4 out of 5 people who try to use their emergency steering, it doesn't work. So you just have to keep in mind, you go, well, why doesn't it work? Well, if your main steering went out, it's pretty bad. it means you've been charging downwind in a lot of wind and big waves, and it's been pushing the boat around. Or it's the first 2 days and you're reaching and heavy, pulling hard on the rudder. So if your main rudder dies, the ability of emergency rudder to work well is not very good. So I'm a big fan of drogues. It's cheap, it works, it's slow, which means bring plenty of water. You should have plenty of water anyway, in case you drop your rig or something like that. Not that that happens. Has anybody lost their whole rig? I don't think anybody's ever lost the whole rig. We've had a few lose the top of the rig. Well, Scott, you're on different.
No, Zephyr's 5, backup,
Yeah.
completely over the
Oh, lost the whole thing?
whole.
Yeah. So again, when you're thinking of water, and I mentioned half gallon a day, make sure you've got enough. If you're halfway there and something bad happens, whether it's your rudder or your rig or whatever, make sure you have enough water. Anyway, back to emergency. Drogues work just fine. You gotta practice. You gotta know how to rig them. Your crew needs to know how to rig them. It will be a slow boat to Kaneohe, but you will get there. It's also a whole lot cheaper than most of the other complex solutions to that. Safety at sea training. You know, a certain percentage of your crew needs to be safety at sea trained, and then 30% need the full boat, 2 days. Another 30% need the 1 day. Don't wait, you'll only have 2 opportunities maybe to get training, and one of them was just a few weeks ago. Bob, is there 1 or 2 more coming up?
There's one in Hawaii in January.
1 in Hawaii in January. Is there another one on the mainland here?
Monterey, you one in Monterey,
Monterey.
and then down in Southern California and up in the Pacific Northwest.
So depending on where you're located, getting trained in a convenient location, you know, don't wait. This is one of these things you want to sort it out right now, which means you need to get your crew sorted out right now so you know who's going to do the 30%. Frankly, I'm a fan of all the crew taking the 2-day thing. It really does help, because then when things go to shit, you've all been through the training and there's not somebody sitting there going, what are you guys doing? Yes?
There's first day safety at sea, I assume. What's the second day?
The first day is something you can do online. The second day is in person, jump in the water, climb a life raft, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Last thing, life jackets. So you'll see the requirements for life jackets, you know, having them on at night, having them on when the wind's over a certain amount. Just a word to the wise. You have life jackets on all the time. Your boat deck, life jackets on. 80% of people who die in the water are not wearing a life jacket. It's kind of stupid, but I do get some people. It's like, you know, wearing helmets on a motorcycle. Yeah, I don't want to do that. It's like, yeah, you're gonna be a donor at the local hospital of a kidney or something. And it really isn't a big deal. My wife's a bit of always on my case when I come up on deck without my life jacket on. Even on the bay, she's like, look, put your life jacket on. I don't want to have to haul you out of the water and you're half drowning. Yeah. Question?
During inspection, the personal safety gear is crew related? Does it all need to be on board?
Repeat the question.
So the question is there's all personal safety gear, life jacket, tether. Hopefully you've got personal AIS on everybody. That's another one. You really want to do that? For the inspection, no. That's one of those things that's typically, you know, take photographs, because your crew may not come together until a few days before the race. But the week before the skipper's meeting, the inspectors will be like, hey, you've got some loose ends here, you need to close down.
Right.
In reality, it's like the morning of the skipper's meeting, it's like still running around trying to capture some of these loose ends. And some of the bigger boats, you may not start till Thursday, Friday, so you won't have your crew together. So, the photograph. Okay, questions? Anything goes?
Anything?
Anything.
So Joe, are you gonna enter this year?
Joe, you've done this before. You know the deal. Big trimaran.
Line checklist that your inspectors will be able to see for the requirements.
Sure. So there's an online checklist that you could. So question, Michael.
Yes, sir.
I was a head inspector the last race. I wasn't a fan of the online checklist. Does the inspector use it or does the entrant use it?
Oh, so the entrant checks off what they've done, the inspector can see that and can check off what's been inspected.
Got it. Got it.
First one done, 3 Mai Tais, rest of your life.
I'm a piece of paper guy when it comes to inspections. But anyway, other questions? Anything goes? Yes.
As far as life raft goes, if it's ISO approved, it's okay, or do I need Coast Guard and SOLAS?
Well,
Moving question.
yeah, if it's ISO approved, it's good to go. It's actually, this is one of those fine print things. It's ISO blah, 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 blah with PAC blah. So you really gotta check you've got the whole thing. It's not as simple any ISO life raft.
It's very well specified in the PCER, so for all this stuff, read the words carefully. It lists exactly which kinds of rafts will qualify and which will, and then if it's not on that list, it doesn't qualify.
Thank you, Bob. Other questions?
Emergency VHF antenna, how do you measure it? Because I've got one that it's like an inch or two short if you measure the wire piece, but if you measure the connector, it passes.
What do you think, Eric? Is it the wire piece or is it all the way through the, what is it, the ballast? What do you call that?
We'll talk about that.
Okay. Eric will cover it when he goes through the electronics.
Okay.
Just frankly, the absolutely cheapest thing to do is buy a 3-foot whip, just like you put on top of your mast. It costs, I don't know, $35 on Amazon. And you've got a real antenna. It's not one of these short little things. And it's actually the cheapest thing to do. And it's easy.
The cheapest thing is the thing I have, if
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah,
Because that's $0 extra.
I had to throw out one of my short ones when they changed that rule. But it's a good one, because reality is, if you need help, the person who's going to help you is someone else here who may be 10 or 15 miles away, and you want to reach them. Yes, Bart?
You said emergency water. The requirement is 10 gallons a person?
No, 2 different things. Minimum water, which is your consumption rate.
Question for the online people.
Water. Is it emergency? The question is about emergency water, which is a gallon a person that you can't touch. It needs to be there when you get to Hawaii. And if you get into it, you will get penalized. But sometimes you do need, we've had people who did need to get into it. And then there's the requirement that you leave the dock with at least 10 gallons a person, which is water for you to drink. Anybody else? Have I overrun?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
I got 10 minutes. Easy. Okay, I'll give some time back unless there's another question. I'm going to be here a little while. Oh, yes.
You mentioned tricolor. I don't have a tricolor on my boat. Should I add it?
I would.
Okay.
When you're at sea and the waves are 8 or 10 feet, they're not going to see anything else. Yeah. And those big ships and other entrants, yeah, it'd be a good thing to do.
Okay.
I have a question online. It says, are water makers okay?
Are water makers okay? Water makers are a great thing, but don't depend on them. they break. The other thing we tend to see is somebody will put a water maker on just for this race, and they actually didn't use it much, and they find out when the boat does more than 5 knots, the water intake doesn't work, or they test it out here in the bay where the water is full of crud and it plugs up their filter, and then when they get out there, it doesn't want to work. So there's lots of ways for water makers to break. So great reason to have a water maker is showers every day, as much water as you want, crew will love it. But don't think of it as a replacement for drinking water. If you're going to the South Pacific or Mexico, or man, having a water maker is a thing of beauty. Those freshwater showers.
On water makers, it also takes electricity to run them. So if you're not running your engine much.
Yes, it takes power. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm curious, it's kind of a side note thing. How many people here have lithium batteries? Okay, how many people don't? It's not half and half. Interesting. I'm going through that myself right now. Do a swap battery, don't I? Yeah.
That's the you this in battery capacity. Twice the capacity.
Yeah. The comment was more capacity.
And half the weight, Jim, on that.
And half the weight, and they can blow up your alternator if you're not careful. So there's things involved.
So the interesting thing about, I think they're wonderful. They're like 5 times the capacity, right? Because you can go from 90 to 10, theoretically 0 to 100. But you got to put the new charger on. The thing that scares me a little bit is they are all run on a BMS, battery management system. I don't know if you all know this. And if that goes out, your battery's done. The first battery I bought from this company, it worked for a week, and then it just shut off. And it replaced it. And the other one's been working. But you're out there in the ocean, and if your BMS shuts off, which is just in, when you charge a lead acid battery, power's in there. It's kind of weird. I'm thinking, do I need to put a bunch of lead acids in too, just in case?
There are some complications.
It's odd. It's kind of scary.
And we can have a long discussion over what's the best way to do it in terms of both reliability and power.
This one, let's talk offline. If you have a solar charger, you can wake it up again.
Okay, I talked to the.
Hey, Eric, are you going to get into this at all?
I'd love to know that.
If we can drill, hopefully we'll talk fast and we'll have time to address.
Drill into some of these things.
Yeah.
I know the way I'm doing it, but everybody's got a different point of view on this one. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to be.
I guess one question. The last time our boat race, I think, was 2008, and I know that there's been a lot of big advancements in technology. We can kind of skip the electronics for now. What are the biggest things that have happened since 2008 and now? Obviously, the boats have a lot of upgrades since, but I'm curious what the biggest impacts were between a race-ready boat in 2008 versus a race-ready boat in 2006.
Repeat the question.
What's the biggest changes in the last 17 years? There's no way I'm going to get this right. Clearly, things like Starlink changed things pretty big, where you can get all the information you want with broadband, at your fingertips. And managing your crew, getting off YouTube or doing Netflix or that kind of thing. That's a big one. 17 years. Wow. Did they code zeros 17 years ago? So there's a few sail things that have changed over the last 17 years.
PFDs, ultralight PFDs.
PFDs, I don't know, 17 years ago, I think it was kind of pretty much the same, wasn't it? Other than the hydrostatic release kind of stuff.
As good as they are now.
Yeah. Well, the spray hoods and the lights and the hydrostatic, and so the PFDs have definitely gotten better. Oh, something I mentioned as an aside, and it really shouldn't be, personal AIS, I would not go up, this isn't required, I don't think, I would not go out there without a personal AIS on. That is, you get disconnected from the boat, which shouldn't happen to start with, because you're tethered in, right? But you get disconnected, you turn the thing on, and everybody within 5 or 6 miles gets an alarm and tells them exactly where you are and where you can be found. And they're about $300, and they're the, life jacket's number 1, personal AIS, in my opinion, is number 2 when it comes to a safety point of view. And it is a bit much if you've got a big crew, and you tell all the crew people, you're only to get a personal AIS, but, it's worth it.
Battery life on that AIS, personal AIS.
Long time.
I think mine's like 7 years or something.
That's forever.
Yes, Scott?
Yeah, so fortunately, we get all the latest and greatest stuff in the Pipeline program. So we take our PLBs and we zip them into our life jackets. So when we go, they're already, it's not like you have to carry it in your pocket, which probably isn't going to happen. So we can unzip our life jackets, put it inside, and then so when we go in, you've got everything you need right there. It's a nice little trick.
So Scott, being on a PIWAC program, do they hand you the life jacket with the AIS locator in it?
That's an interesting point.
Or do you have to bring your own?
No. We get everything supplied to us. But many of our crew have had really bad experiences with failure of life jackets and personal safety equipment. When our navigator comes on board, Peter Eisler, he always blows up his life jacket manually and leaves it overnight in the cockpit. He was one of the guys that when the boat went over at Fastnet Rock when the keel fell off. Rambler. So he got stuck down below and had to swim out. And when he swam out, his life jacket never inflated. And some of the guys actually had leaks in their bladders. And so this left a mark on these guys. They handle their personal safety equipment much different than you and I are people that never had a close call. And so Peter never fails to blow his life jacket up manually and then repack it at the end of the day once he's satisfied that it's holding air. So,
cool.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Chuck Hawley told me brand new inflatable life jackets, and I won't talk about the brand he was really not happy with. 20% failure rate on opening. But everybody should know where's the manual ripcord, right? And again, that's one of those training things. So when you're in a pinch, and when you fall in, you don't sink right away. You may have a minute before you really start to sink. So you've got time. Yeah, most of the life jackets now have a pocket you can stick your AIS van overboard thing in. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. I'm going to be around for a while. When there's a break, if you got something you want to ask that you do want to ask in front of a crowd, feel free. And again, I will go back to go through the list or have someone on your crew who's good at details and follow up. Go through the list, see where you're at, see what the first time through, you're probably going to have 10, 15, 20 items that are going to need follow up. Something needs to be done. And it's easy to do now. You can wait for that Black Friday sale or whatever it is, rather than, in April or May and kind of a panicky, I gotta get this, that, and the other thing. Okay. Have a wonderful day and a great sale.
Thank you, Jim.
Next up, we have Scott Eason. I'm sure many of you guys already know Scott, but he has incredibly deep experience sailing a variety of boats all over the world. And he also does really cool stuff with rigging. So he's going to show you some of that. We may need a short moment to get the slides set up. Are you good already?
Nope.
Did it work?
Yes,
Hey.
but it's sharing again.
I think it works for us. We're going to get it going for the Zoom people.
There. All right, well.